Hello everyone, I'm Sreelekha, Faculty of Social Studies Department, Silver Hills Public School. Today, I'm going to discuss on the topic Geography Class 8 topic Industry. Industry or manufacturing industry. Many products from the primary activities such as agriculture or mining need to be processed to make it much more usable goods. The processing happens making the raw material into a finished product, and this processing is what we call it as manufacturing. Manufacturing or industries are actually where the process happen with the help of machines and the technology. For example, the sugarcane processing with the help of machines and technology comes out as a sugar. The same way cotton is being transformed or converted into cloth. Wood which is being converted into paper. This processing is being done with the help of machines and technology. Now, let us look into a brief history of Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution, which actually took place in 18th century in Great Britain, which later spread into the European parts. Late Industrial Revolution helps into the growth and development of many factories and machines. It also helped in the reduction of poverty and unemployment. In the later 18th century, a series of inventions took place. It also built up a relationship between human being, machine and also natural resources. Industry can also be defined as any economic activity which is associated with the production of goods. It can otherwise be included many other activities such as extraction of minerals, production of goods and also services, provision of services. Now, extraction of minerals such as mining, production of goods such as textile and provision of services such as tourism. All is what we call it as industries. Let's see what is the classification of industry. The classification of industry is based on three different categories. One is called as the raw material, the second one as the size and the third one ownership. Now, on the basis of the raw material, how is it being classified? On the basis of raw material, the industries are being divided into agro-based industries, mineral-based industry, marine-based industry and also the forest-based industry. On the basis of size, the industries are being classified into small-scale industry and also the large-scale industry. On the basis of the ownership, right? The ownership, private sector industries, public sector industries, joint sector industry and also cooperative sector. So, this is how the classification of industries are being divided. Agro-based industry. Now here the raw material used in this industries are either from the plants or animal product. The plants and the animals will be the raw material used in this industry and the fruit that comes out. For example, if we are growing wheat, right, the crops wheat will be as an input or the raw material, and through the processing in the industry, the cleaning, drying, grinding and the output that we get is the wheat flour, the powdered wheat flour, right. So based on the agriculture sector, it is being based on the raw material, and the examples are food processing, vegetable oil, cotton textile, dairy products, and even when we talk about the animal as a raw material, we can use dairy product as a milk, right. The milk can be the raw material, and the processing through the industry we can use it as the curd, milk powder, paneer, cheese, all these will be the output that comes out from the animal product. And one fine example given over here is the sunflower oil. We know that sunflower seeds are being used as a raw material which actually comes under the plant. The raw material will be the sunflower seed, and the extraction through the industry, the output that we receive are the sunflower oil. Next, we have the mineral based industry, where the raw material used over here in the industries are minerals which is being extracted from the earth, right? For example, the iron and the steel industry. The iron is being extracted, iron ore are being extracted from the earth, and which is being a major source in the industry for the processing, and the output will be the iron and steel industry. And primary, the definition what we are discussing over here is primary industries that are using mineral as their raw material. The products of these industries feed other industry. As we know, the Tisco company, Tata Iron and Steel Company, which is actually the industry that gives a feedback for many other industry like machineries and automobiles. So this iron and steel industry or any mineral based industry is also supporting many small scale industries also. The used raw materials are the manufacture of number of the products such as heavy machinery, buildings, and also the railway coaches, right? The next we have the marine based industries. Now here we know that the raw material that we use are from the marine or the sea and oceans. We are collecting the sea and the ocean creatures as a raw material. The industry processing seafood or manufacturing sea oil. One such example what we can see over here, the fish which is being made as a raw material, and the output or the out product will be either the food or even the pickles or whatever we use for the food processing. So, but the major raw material used will be from the marine based industry. The next what we have is the forest based industry. Here the raw material that we use are from the forest product. It can be used for medicinal purposes. It can be used, what we had already discussed, the paper, the pulp, and also the manufacture, the furniture and the building. So here the forest will be the major raw material which will be extracted, and then through the industry the processing will be done, and the output will be which is being used by everyone. Here we can see how amla is being used, the forest based raw material which is being used as a pharmaceutical purpose. The next what we have is the size. On the basis of size, how the industries are being divided. We already said it is being divided into small scale industry and the large scale industry. Now what do you mean by small scale industry? Small scale industries are also called as the cottage or household industry, where small goods like basket, weaving, and the pot making are all being done in a small group of, among the small group of labor, and less amount of capital and technology are being used. Such industries are what we call it as small scale industry. For example, food processing like making of pickles or any food items, silk weaving, handicraft, basket weaving, and pottery. All these are what we call it as small scale industry, based on smaller group of people, less capital, and also the less number of technology. These are few pictures that we can find how the small scale industry works, the craft work which is being done by the artisans, and how the food processing are being done. The next what we have is the large scale industry. Now large scale, here the volume of product, the output will be much more larger. The capital used over here will be more, and the technology will be much more advanced technology. The people working, the laborers working over here is also more in number compared to the small scale industry. Now here the examples are the automobiles and heavy machinery industries. So here we find that it is more capital which is being used and more technology, advanced technology are being used, and that is why it is called as a large scale industries. These are the few pictures that correlate with the large scale industry, automobile industry, and the iron and steel machineries. Now the third one, what we said, the classification of industry is on the basis of ownership, right? The ownership are being again divided into 4 types: the private sector, public sector, joint sector, and also cooperative sector. Now let's look, what do you mean by the private sector? Now private sector where the owned and operated by individual or group of individuals, right? It is owned and being working. The industry is owned and worked by the individual or a group of people will be the owners. Such sector is what we call it as private sector. Whereas the public sector, the sector industry which is being owned by the government, the organization operated by the government. For example, the HAL, that is Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, right? So such sector which is being owned or worked by the state or the central government, we call it as a public sector. The third one is what we call it as a joint sector. It is a joining. The name itself tells that the ownership are being joined hand between the state and the individual or group of individual. It is not the individual or a state alone. It is a combination of both, where individual will be combining their hands with the state or the government. Together they will be working, and such ownership is called as joint sector. Examples are Maruti Udyog Limited. The fourth sector under the ownership are the cooperative sector, where the cooperative sector will be owned by the producers or the suppliers of raw material. And one such example is the Amul product, where the cow and the dairy products, both raw materials are being owned by the producers and the suppliers, and the output will be the different dairy products. So such sector where the raw material will be owned by the suppliers or producers are what we call it as cooperative sector, which is the 4 division under the ownership: public, private, joint, and also the cooperative sector. Let's see the picture correlated with the ownership: the private sector, the public sector, the joint sector, and also the cooperative sector. So this is the 4 different sector based on the ownership. That comes to an end of this presentation: industry, which is actually the secondary economic activity, and that is how we are ending the session for time being. Thank you.